So Darren Rovell put out this tweet. Let me make it a little bit larger. Didn't really make a difference. I guess it kind of did. Yeah, so Darren Rovell puts out this tweet. Most cards graded by PSA. Gem Rate's a great resource for data when it comes to graded stuff. They do a lot of like great tracking on how many cards PSA is grading. A lot of like, I don't know if they have back end information or if they're using like the PSA certification numbers on cards or where they're exactly getting their data from. I would imagine. I mean, they know like they have good percentages on like where, like what cards are being graded, like who's graded what. Like, let me see. I can go to their Twitter here and see like, yeah. So like March 1st, February's grading recap. PSA graded 1 point or just above 1 million cards. CSG graded about 100,000. SGC graded about 92,000. Beckett graded about 57. CSG population reports been under maintenance, was on pace for 25 to 30K. Yeah, so they put out this information. I'm guessing they're just pulling the data from the actual websites realistically, because I think all this information, like if you are tracking it, I think it's all pretty public. Like how many cards PSA and all these companies have graded overall. I think that number's public knowledge. I'm pretty sure. But yeah, let's go back to this list. The list is, not super surprising, I guess, but it's like, it's kind of crazy that like the Zion, Ja, and Luka all have more, that all are in the top 10. And I would say Kobe has probably risen pretty significantly over the past few years. LeBron makes sense. I mean, Ken Griffey has, if you look at Card Ladder, I'll pull up the number, but like, actually, I can just show you here because the indexes will show you indexes. Let's see, high population. I like looking at these. Mid pop, low end. Where's the high pop? High pop right here. So these are pretty much going to be the cards that are the most graded. Score. We're going to go to population. Yeah. So like you look at the top 5, they're all 90 or they're all 89 Griffies. And then it's crazy. Zion's in that. Zion PSA 10s are in that too. That's kind of the other crazy thing. Actually, wait, let me close this out here. John Morant's in there. Ronald Acuna's in there. Derek Jeter. Fernando Tatis. I wonder what this is. These must be just together. But then, yeah, Luka in the 19,000. But like, yeah, it's just crazy that like overall Ken Griffey has like 4 cards that are over 29,000 graded. Like, because then you look at like the next closest, it's 23. So I'm actually surprised that Griffey isn't higher. That maybe it's because like these are like the most graded. Like this Upper Deck card, I think is probably, if you take, actually, no, it probably is this card. If you take total population, actually, we can just see which one pops up first when we scroll down a little bit. Also, this is sort of wild. Gavin Lux is in like the top list here. Let's see which one pops up for Griffey. Another Griffey here. Yeah, okay. So I think it's the tops traded. Tops traded must be the highest graded card in total because it's number 1. The PSA 9s are 46,000, which that card only came in like one of those, like they used to make the like Tops update. I think I think it used to be that it came in like a set of like 100 cards. Like the Tops update essentially was like rookies that weren't included in other Tops. And then I think it was like players that switched teams, essentially Tops traded. That's why it's called that, I think. So that's for one of the reasons why they just made so many of those sets like at the end of the year. Like that's when that set came out. In 89. So it's like they knew that there was going to be a demand for it. So they just made so many of them that like there are 46,000 PSA 9s of this card. Like, and it's crazy because then you also look at like the Upper Deck Griffey, which is, maybe the Upper Deck Griffey is number one. It's one of these two are number one, but that's kind of the point here. It's like it surprises me that Griffey isn't higher on this list. I mean, I guess number 3 is still pretty high, but like I'm surprised that he's not number 1, to be honest, with Michael Jordan having 1.1 million cards graded by PSA. That's insane. I mean, and it's also insane because it's not like he's on, like he's here, but this isn't even like 1990 Fleer is like the highest graded card, at least from this list. I'm pretty sure this pulls all the top populations of cards. Also, Luis Robert having, 30. I'm not going to try to do 36K total for PSA 9s and PSA 10. That's pretty crazy. And then his top chrome, 18,000. So it's like, wow. But yeah, so like Jordan, for example, let's see where other cards that he has on this list here. I probably passed some, to be honest, but like it's pretty remarkable that Jordan has so many cards graded, which means that his other sets, like here's another 80, 90 Fleer, 12,000, which I guess I'm wondering just in total, PSA 5K, so almost 6. Let's see, PSA 9, 23K, PSA 8, 12K. Yeah, it's crazy that Jordan has so many graded cards, because I think people just sent, I actually wish, I don't know, maybe they have this data, maybe they don't, but I would be interested to know where these, because honestly, let's take the like player that had the most recent release, so like Zion or Luka. We could take from 2018 to now, or 2019 to now. I guess you could take either one, but I would be interested if you took the data and you looked at the numbers from like 2018, 2019, like how much those cards increased in total population. Like, were there, if you look at those numbers, like let's go back to 2018. Did this list look similar? Like, did Jordan have like, 500,000 or 600,000? And because Ken Griffey, he probably was number 1 on the list, I bet, until Jordan and Charizard recently took over. I think Charizard that's probably one that over the past few years has gone up pretty significantly. But I mean, obviously Zion, Ja, Luka, those cards have all been graded in the past since 2018, 2019. So I also would be interested to see if the graph went like up and then down significantly. I'm going the wrong way here. If it went like up and then down and then up and down, or however the data went for some of these players, like newer players, obviously they're going to be, their chart's going to be straight up. But like Michael Jordan, I would be interested to see if his went like up and then continued to go up and then went down and went up again, or when those cards were graded. I guess is kind of my main thought process here. Cause like, it's just wild that Jordan has 1.1 million, like, especially when he's not on that list that I was just looking at. But there isn't, and then, I mean, Pikachu at number 5, like, I guess I maybe thought that might be a little bit higher, but like Charizard being a number 2, like that's not surprising. Like if you look at, let's say, the Grail cards, or the cards that everybody looks at in the hobby when it comes to trading cards, like the Charizard, the original Charizard is like the number 1 card. And then even in like newer sets, I think people are still chasing that Charizard when it comes to cards that they're submitting to get graded, or cards that they're looking at to buy, or cards that are coming out of some of the new boxes. Like all in all, like I wouldn't be surprised if that Charizard, because the Charizard, I'd be interested. We'll never know. And this is something that I wish we could know, is like print runs on those cards. Like I wish that this number also include, which there's no way to say, or actually, I guess maybe the trading card companies must have a spreadsheet with the number. Like Maybe not in the past, but like recently. Like, so I would be interested to know, like, of the 375,000 Zion Williamson cards, like, does he have like 2, 3, 4, 5 million total cards that haven't been graded or that have been made and that weren't graded? Like, because like with Jordan, for the most part, I feel like a decent amount of the cards that Jordan has had have been sent for grading. Because like if you get a Jordan card, it's like I feel like that's almost like it's prestigious in a way. Like actually, and I'm also kind of surprised. I guess maybe I'm not surprised Tom Brady isn't on this list. Like no football players really, which I think that's just like a like Brady, for example, he didn't have that many cards, to be honest, made during his rookie year. And throughout his career, he had more created. Um, but either way, like yeah, like I said, I would be interested to know how many cards Jordan has had created and then versus how many are graded. Like what's the percentage? Like is it 50%? Like does Jordan have 2 million cards created? Because he hasn't had cards really recently. He's had like Upper Deck cards because he has that exclusive with Upper Deck, but like there's been no Panini, there's been like no Prism cards. So it's like a lot of his cards were probably produced in the 90s. And then some of them, because none of the Jordan cards would be licensed that are coming out recently because Panini has the basketball license, but the Jordan is a Upper Deck athlete, so he's not going to be. He doesn't have his likeness in any Panini products. I mean, it would be interesting to see like if Top somehow could get Jordan from Upper Deck. I mean, that would be insane. Like same with LeBron. I mean, I think LeBron is number 4. That's not super surprising either. Like if you look at the eras that a lot of these cards came from, LeBron, Kobe, even too, Zion, John Morant, Luca, like they're all good players from the era, but also they're all coming from an era in sports cards where like so many cards were made. So it's kind of a combination of both, in my opinion. Like, let me see, actually, let me make sure comments are enabled. I haven't gotten any yet. So if you are in the chat and you have a comment or a question, let me know. Let me see. Or if you haven't watched the new TikTok or the new YouTube video, that's also live as well. Which, let's see, comments. I don't think it should be fine. Allow all comments. Oh, maybe there weren't. Okay, well, whatever. So comments. Hopefully, maybe some people leave some comments. I guess it was disabled or something. But either way, that should be all set now. Hopefully, category sports. I should have looked into this before going live. Whatever. It's all right. But yeah, all of these players on this list were some of the best players of their era, but they also came from eras in sports cards where so many cards were produced. I actually think that this puts the Zion Ja into perspective of how many cards there are of these players. But at the same time, I also think that grading in that 2018, 2019, 2020 timeframe became much more popular than it had been in the past. Like the grade and flip became such like a profitable system for a lot of people that like it makes sense that, Zion when he's coming out of college, Ja when he's coming out of college, like those cards are being graded and sold so quickly because of how many people were buying and because those cards were selling so easily too. Like I think ease of sale is another reason why you're seeing some of these crazy. Actually, I should have done this before. Zoom in on the list. I should have done this. Oh well, it's all right. But either way, like the ease of sale of these cards. Like if you look at anybody on this list, if you have any of these cards, I almost guarantee that it's easier to sell some of these cards than it is to sell any other players or any other, when it comes to like Pokemon when it comes, yeah, like I said, when it comes to Pokemon, it's much easier to sell those cards than it is any other cards within the hobby. So I look at it from that perspective as well. Let's see what else we got. Talk about World Baseball Classic a little.